Akati e te whānau, he kaupapa nui te hārea ki nei I tēnei wāne. Kei te kōrero mana tuku iho tātou. Kei te kōrero puka uru whenua no ki tātou. Citizenship, nā, ko hono mai I tēnei wā, ko tēnei o ngā whetū o te ao, kawana he nei te ao Māori, o te ao whānui. It's our honour and a privilege to welcome you onto our show. E te tuahine, Keisha Castle-Hughes, nau mai ki Something for the People.
Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi mō te whakatau.
Ai, tēnā koe. Now, we've been talking about this kaupapa here, citizenship, and whether or not, what is the criteria of our whānau, of our tamariki, those of our whānau who are born overseas, and then trying to get back into the country. I've got first cousins, I've got cousins who are born overseas and whatnot, probably without me even really thinking about it, going through these take. Can you give us a little bit of a synopsis about your journey in this kaupapa? I understand your daughter Matilda was born in the States. You've been going through the process of trying to get her a passport or citizenship into Aotearoa. How did this all come about?
I've been working over in the USA, and when we had my pepe in 2001, I actually wasn't aware that because I was a citizenship by descent, that there was no pathway for citizenship for my tamariki. And so when I'd applied, I immediately got, a response saying, not just that there was like a different pathway, it was just like simply there was no access pathway for her to gain citizenship in New Zealand, which, led to a long, arduous process, which she's 4.5 now. So It's been about 4 years of being in this process, and really tricky in the sense that, there's no specificity within the agency and within their documentation that speaks to whakapapa, and so they want to there was lots of asking about like quantifying how my daughter,
how Māori you are,
Aotearoa, and how Māori we are,
right?
But obviously we don't measure things in Māoridom that way. So you get into this kind of communication barrier with the agency where they go, describe how Māori you are, and we go, well, we don't measure that way. And then you get into, well, no one's winning. So it's been a back and forth for the last 4 years.
Keisha, can I ask, had she have been born in Aotearoa, would the situation have been different?
It would have, yes, it would have been different. And so that's, and that was a big part of, the kōrero. And I was given the opportunity. There was another whanaunga, John Ruddock, who was in a really similar boat with his tamariki, and he took his case as an urgent inquiry to Waitangi Tribunal.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the one who started this whole sort of a tribunal process, isn't it?
Right. And, and I think too, it's, obviously out the woodworks comes lots of kōrero, and people, feel very affronted by this idea when Māori are asking for something different. However, it's just about, it's, within an agency, I think the Citizenship Act hasn't been actually looked at or changed since 1977.
Right.
And I'd like to think that we live in a really different Aotearoa. I'd like to think that we live in an Aotearoa that have a better understanding of te tiriti and how we honour those practices. And so it's, the inquiry was in no way about anyone Māori asking for something automatic or I hate the terminology, but it's what people use, of special treatment.
Yes.
It's more about having a process that honours the way in which we as Māori, it honours our process, our own processes and our tikanga, and has a bit more of a tika practice within it.
So what you're saying is, because this is a buzzy yarn, because it opens up so much more sort of rabbit holes for us to dive into. But what you're saying essentially, if you are Māori, he whakapapa Māori tau or tō, and you are born anywhere, you should have automatic access to citizenship in Aotearoa.
And not, and in terms of automatic access, obviously I understand that that there has to be due process.
Yeah,
you know? So,
there still needs to be a
you know, so
process
we
and stuff
still
like
fill
that.
out a
But
form,
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
still, but what my whānau and I found, and John and his whānau found, is that because that doesn't exist, this becomes a really inaccessible process. This was a process that cost a lot of money. Because it required me and my whānau to engage with lawyers, and it required a really lengthy process with no knowledge or understanding of when or how. And, and then when we did, my mahi had finished in the USA, we came home to Aotearoa, we came in and my daughter had to come in on a tourist visa.
Wow.
And so when she was back in Aotearoa on a tourist visa, which John also had to do with his tamariki, then those tamariki are not able to enroll in kohanga, they're not able to enroll in kura. They can't go to hona, they can't go healthcare. You're treated as a foreigner / immigrant. And so that's more the important side of the kōrero. And also I really stand by. I don't think this is a situation where it opens the floodgates either. There's
Yeah.
It's not a huge amount of people that we're speaking to, but it's just about really honouring the tikanga of who we are as Māori, and the reality that there's nowhere else in the world that I can take my tamariki where they get to be Māori in the sense that they can attend kohanga, they can attend kaupapa, they can go home to their marae, we can go home to our mana whenua. That doesn't exist anywhere. So it is very different. It is unique the way in which whakapapa exists to us, because we whakapapa to our mana whenua.
I suspect that I know what your answer is because you've already spoken about the floodgates opening, but is this only for Māori take? Do you think all Kiwis should be afforded the same sort of process to be able to, get your citizenship? As long as you're a Kiwi, for lack of a better term, you can get your citizenship? Or is it a purely Māori kaupapa and he toto Māori tō, you're in with a grin type thing?
I think it's interesting because, I'm not an expert, but through my lived experience, I've actually discovered that a big issue within this process is that Māori specifically are one of the first people that can lose access to citizenship.
Really?
Wow.
Because we do have other pathways attached to other colonies.
Right.
Based on the fact that we are still under the sovereign of the crown, I guess, in the New Zealand side of things.
Which is why there's a whole lot of New Zealanders in London or whatever. You can get easy access over to the UK and wherever else.
Yeah, we have easier pathways to go, to Commonwealth spaces.
Yes.
And so that to me, that is the issue. So yes, I do believe that, it's more about the specific Māori whakapapa avenue, which is something that's really important to kōrero.
Keisha, with the obviously with the process of the Waitangi Tribunal, I'm kind of looking at where we're going to now. I've heard that politicians are starting to weigh in on this discussion now. This has gone all the way to the top. What's the update?
Yeah, so the my process is still kind of been in processing, and I have had direct contact from like some of those agencies, the Department of Internal Affairs. Have a ongoing kōrero with now. They've been really open and were really willing to kind of sit in that space and listen to the internal processes.
Kia ora.
And hear that, which is incredible because, that's the thing is, and I think too, it's a really important part of being Māori is that we don't operate just for self, and that's, and I really recognised in this process, I was sitting in a really privileged position in the sense that I had access to people, to, putia, and I was going, well, what happens exactly to all of our whanaunga in Australia who don't have that knowledge or access? It's really, so what happens now is that the bigger picture is the, tribunal will go away and present their findings, within the next month. And I hope that engages a bigger kōrero, and then, the powers that be will then be able to kind of figure out how we best move forward.
Nō reira, e te tuahine e mihi ana ki a koe for at least, giving some air to this discussion. Because as you say, we've all got whānau and all around the world who are, our tuahine over here, she's got nieces in Hawaii and nephews in Hawaii and stuff. So this is a great wānanga for us to be having amongst ourselves. And I think you're right, actually. The more you talk about it, there does need to be a pathway for our uri to be able to come home. E te tuahine e mihi ana ki a koe. And I'm really interested to find out a little bit more about this kaupapa and to hear more, because I would imagine, even though you say we're not opening the floodgates here, I would imagine there is a lot of whānau who are probably aware, wanting to know more and wanting to at least, as you say, know what the process is, to be able to engage and to be able to allow our whānau to be able to come home freely, to be able to move home and be able to go and jump into kohanga reo, as you say, be able to access healthcare, all of those sorts of things. Nō reira, e te tuahine mihi ana ki a koe. I look forward to hearing more about this kaupapa in the coming weeks, months, years. Nō reira, tēnā koe.
Kia ora ngā mihi ki a koutou.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koe. Nō reira, he pai e nei kōrero, I te mea, me pono te kōrero, I mua I taku whakaaro mō tēnei, I te ahua rere ki aku whakaaro.
I pēhea.
Well, I te whakaiahau kia me whai kia wānanga hia tēnei taki. E rangi I ai kei te whakaiahau ki ana kōrero. Me whai huarahi tātou, e hoki mai ngā uri. Hea o whakaaro?
Well, tokoru aku I Rāmatu, I whānau ki Tāwai. He tinenga I Rāmatu, kei Ahitareiria, kei Amerika, kei Hawaii anō, hoke hoano ko ngā tamariki ake a taku tungane. Tokorua I whānau I Hawaii. Ka mutu nā reirau I mohio ai ki tēnei tukanga. Ara, I raro I te ture, ki te whānau te uri o Aotearoa, o New Tireni, ki tā wāhi, ka whānau ana uri ki tā wāhi, e hara I te mea ka aunua te whiwhi ki te uru whenua, puka uru whenua ki te mana noho kirira rau. Ana I kōrero tiara e Keisha, ne? Nā tērā, ki te tae mai te Māori I whānau I tā wāhi I raro I taua tikanga ki Aotearoa nei, me whakātu te tikiti, me hoko tikiti, hei whakātu e hoki ana ia, e puta ana rāna I te whenua.
Me whai return ticket.
Ai, koira, ana he nui te utu o tērā. Hei pīkau ma ngā whānau.
Koia.
Ka mutu ko te ata he hātepe anō, hei tono e ni kōrero tiara e Keisha, tērā āhuatanga. Ki au nei, kei te tino tautoko hau I tēnei kareme ki te Traipūnara o Waitangi. Kei raro tonu I te tiriti o Waitangi te kōrero, ne? He ori te tōngai Māori mana ki tērā o te hoa tiriti. Ana, ko tēnei mea te whakapapa, ko te tino rangatiratanga tērā.
Mai, he pera hoki oku whakaaro kei te ātikara tuarua, ngā kōrero mō a tātou taonga. Te taonga, tētahi o ngā taonga tino nui kei a tātou kei te Māori ko o tātou mana. He kōrero mana tēnei. Ko te kāwanatanga e hamahama ana I te iwi Māori I ngā mokopuna, I ngā tamariki, kia kaua tērā mana. Mana take o konei ake, kia kaua tērā e utaina ki runga I a tātou tamariki mokopuna.
Nō reira, whakatika hia mai. Mena ka hare ahau ki tā wāhi, ka whānau mai he pēpi ki taua whenua rā, ka whai puka uru whenua, ka whai citizenship ia, I te mea e kātonu ana takuahi. Ne? E rangi mena ka whānau mai aku mokopuna o ana tamariki, kua rua whakatupuranga e ngaro ana I te kāinga hei reira kā raru, ne?
Ka tino raru. Ana kua kia he rāwaho.
Engari ko tā te Māori titiro, kia kaua e pēra. Ne, I te mea ko te mana heke mai I mohe ona tātou o tātou mana. No reira, ko ngā tari o te kāwanatanga e tohu mai ana kia tātou, he pēhea te nui te iti rānei o tātou mana kia whai puka.
Pēhea te roa.
Pēhea te roa.
Pēhea te puranga.
Mōhio ki tō Māoritanga.
Ka matu he iwi hōpara tātou I te ao. Mai tērā āhua. Ko te Hawaii ki hou. Ko ngā Hawaii ki hou era. Kei tua o te moana. Ana kei te hāminitia. Etahi o tātou whanaunga.
E te whānau e mihi ana ki a koe, mena I mātakitaki koe I te katoa o te kiriata. Ka pai, tēnā, like, subscribe. Waiho mai o whakaaro anō hoki mā ngā tā kupu. He pai kia mātou. Something for the people. Tēnā.